Hi guys. First off, I just want to thank you for being with me again. And I'm just going to jump right in again here. We've been talking a lot lately about making tinctures, and I've actually ordered a lot of lab equipment that should be in by Friday, and we're going to begin making hydrosols and essential oils also. But one thing that I wanted to bring up was I've heard from several people who, for one reason or another, either can't or don't want to use alcohol. And by alcohol, I'm talking about tequila, vodka. Traditionally, in alchemy, people use brandy as the alcohol to absorb the essence out of the plants. But for one reason or another, some people just either can't or are uncomfortable using alcohol. You know, for example, one man wrote to me and he said he really wants to start making his own tinctures, but he's a Muslim, so he is forbidden to consume or deal with alcohol in any way. And he was wanting to know if there was another way that he could do this. Same way I have, a lot of people that I know may have had, substance abuse issues in the past and are now just don't want anything to do. They don't want to chance it. They don't want anything to do with alcohol at all. They don't want it in their lives. So for whatever reason that you maybe don't or can't use alcohol, there is something else you can use when you're creating what we call a maceration. A maceration is what you're doing with the herbs when you're soaking them in the alcohol. The other thing you can use is vinegar. Now this is just a generic cheap bottle of distilled white vinegar. You can get this at any grocery store. It costs about $1.50 for the whole bottle. There are other kinds you can also get. Like traditionally, if people used alcohol, they would use wine alcohol. I didn't know, if people who couldn't use alcohol would be comfortable even using wine vinegar or not. So I chose white vinegar. I actually like white vinegar better just because it's clear. So just like when you're using a white alcohol with your herbs and you see the alcohol change color as it absorbs the properties of the herbs, you can see the vinegar do the same thing. In addition to wine vinegar, there is also apple cider vinegar, which is something that I drink a lot. I drink it in orange juice, just pour it in, and it's supposed to be really great for all kinds of stuff. Keeps you healthy, your digestive system. The only thing about apple cider vinegar is, number one, it is a much darker, it's like a yellowish, brownish color. And also, if you get the really good quality stuff, like it's called Bragg's is the best brand, you can't see through it really. It's not clear at all. It's a dark color and it has a stronger smell to it than this does. And one of the reasons you might not like the stronger smell is because something that you can do with vinegar that you cannot do with drinking alcohol is create what people call washes. If you've ever heard of like a floor wash, when people talk about Florida water, that's what Florida water is. It is something that you wash the floors and everything else in your temple, your home, to rid it of energy, to basically cleanse, purify, bless, banish, all of that. Vinegar does that. And whenever you mix it with the herbs, you're making an incredibly potent wash that you can use. You could either take it internally. John Michael Greer, he said that this is the only magical operation he knows of that can also be used to jazz up a green salad. Because you can take it in and there's no harmful effects whatsoever. Other interesting things about vinegar is it is incredibly disruptive to etheric energy. I was talking to somebody recently about things like how energy moves and how sometimes it doesn't move, and when it doesn't move, it creates pockets of stagnation on the astral or etheric level of reality. And you know, the way you can see this really easily is in basements. You know, a lot of times basements are these underground places, no windows, there's no energy flowing in there at all. So the energy just sits and it stagnates. And a lot of times this is why basements can feel so creepy. You know, even if there's nothing in your house, it's not a haunted house or anything like that, you still may feel this feeling of creepiness when you go into the basement, and it's because it's that stagnant energy has built up and accumulated down there. Vinegar, John Michael Greer talks about how you can actually use vinegar to clear that. All you have to do is pour it in a bowl or a saucer, and it should be the white vinegar for this. Pour it in a bowl or saucer and leave it in those areas and let it evaporate. It's something to do with the acid. Vinegar is basically acid and water by things that have been left to ferment too long. That's where the acid comes from. But that acid is what it is that disrupts etheric energy. Any acid will do it, but this is, if you're going to have, you know, bowls of acid sitting around your house, you want to have the safest thing you possibly can, so you want vinegar. Let me think if there's anything else about that. He actually says, John Michael Greer says you can use it in cases of haunting too. And I've also, you know, like to clear the house, washing everything in it. Another thing you can do after you soak your herbs in here, like for example, say that you're wanting to use it, you can take eye bright. That's an herb that's traditionally used for like clairvoyance, for enhancing intuition, psychic perception, all of that sort of thing. So you could take that, macerate it in the vinegar, and then if you're going to do scrying is a process or a practice where you are looking into the astral using a black mirror. What the black mirror does is kind of allows you to almost trance out so that you're focused, but not in like a, you know, straining kind of way. It's this completely relaxed form of focus. You can use the eye bright and vinegar wash to wash the mirror, the black mirror that you're going to use. Anything that you want to put the energy of the herb in, you can wash with the vinegar wash once you've macerated the herb in it. He gives a lot of really great... Oh, before I go on, I'm going to also address, someone else asked a question. They were saying, whenever I'm talking about charging the herbs or charging the tincture as a whole, like right now, all of my tinctures, when I get ready to start my magic routine every day, I take all of my tinctures out of the cabinet and put them right on the center of my altar. The rose, the blue lotus, and everything else that I'm working with. I take it out of my cabinet and put it on the altar, and I will do an invocation around it, and then take all the energy that I've invoked and collapse it into what I'm working with, and I'll say, let this power, blessings, and favor descend on everything on this altar so that it serves as a potent, powerful tool to aid and assist me in completing the great work within this lifetime, or accomplishing my will in this lifetime. And then I collapse all the energy onto it. Someone was asking how you do that, like how you do the invocation. What I usually do, and this is what I mean also by how whenever you're learning the Lesser Banishing, you are learning a formula that you will use over and over in all different sorts of ways. So for example, let's say like in the case of roses that I'm invoking the planetary energy of Venus. What I would do is I would do exactly like I do whenever I do the Lesser Banishing or the Lesser Invoking, you know, where you start in the east and you move around clockwise and you draw your pentagram in each corner and you're connected by the white light. You do the exact same thing, but in this case, like for example, say we're talking about Venus and wanting to charge roses, you would, instead of drawing pentagrams, you would draw hexagrams, because hexagrams represent planetary energy. The way you know which hexagram, how to draw each hexagram of the planet is drawn in a different way. Just like the pentagram can be drawn from all different points, the hexagram is the same way, and you draw it from whichever point corresponds to the planet that you're wanting to invoke. And to make this a little easier to see, I'll show you right here. Like here we see the hexagram of Venus. So you see the little numbers. I don't know if you can see them on the screen or not. There are little numbers next to the point where you begin drawing it. So say for example with this one, I'm looking at it right now, and when you're drawing the Venus hexagram, keep in mind we inhale, draw chi from the universe around us, let it pass through our body and into the earth beneath our feet. See the entire earth feel beneath your feet. And then you will begin drawing the hexagram of Venus. So in this particular case, you would start at this corner down here, and you draw a triangle. And you draw it in gold. The second one, you come up here and you draw like this, so that you have, you know, two interlocking triangles forming a hexagram. Depending on which planetary energy you're trying to invoke, there's a different hexagram for each planetary energy. You can see right above Venus is Mars. And over on this page, we've got the sun. The sun is the most complicated one. I would highly suggest, if you're going to start delving into the hexagram rituals, save the sun, the soul hexagram for last, because for it, you have to draw 6 overlapping pentagrams. Basically what you do is you draw all of the other planetary hexagrams overlapping each other, and then charge it at the end when you're finished. And that's how you get the soul or sun hexagram. So I would start with something else first, just so you get some practice in. But that's the formula. You use the pentagram formula that you learned when you're doing the lesser banishing. There is a lot more that I want to get into, things we're going to talk about. For example, another thing that you won't find very much information on out there anywhere. As a matter of fact, I think there's only like 2 people that even talk about it. One is Franz Barden. The other is John Michael Greer, is creating a fluid condenser. And a fluid condenser involves using gold. So 2 things, well, there's a few things you'll need. Number 1 is a glass saucepan that you can see through, that you're going to fill up with spring water, not tap water, but spring water. The other thing you will need is pliers and heavy-duty work gloves of some sort, because you're going to be dealing with really high heat. You can do this either on the stove, if you have a gas stove. You have to have a gas stove that actually has the flames that come up from it. Or, and this is my preference, and I'm waiting for more fuel to come in right now, you can use a torch. The other thing that you need is gold. It can be any kind of jewelry or anything. The only thing is it has to be 14 karat gold or better. And it can be, like, if you can see this is a crown, you know, like people have on their teeth. This is a gold crown. So this is pure gold. But it has to be 14 karat gold or more. And what you're going to do is get it red hot and then repeatedly drop it into the water. There are other ways of doing this, but this is the way that's best if you're going to consume it. And we're going to talk more about this probably tomorrow in the next video. We'll get more into that. But okay, that's it for now. I'm going to cut it off. I love you guys. Thank you for being with me, and I'll talk to you back here tomorrow. Bye-bye.